and you're tuned into the Hey Mom weekly live check-in with me, your guest, Omena-El, aka the Holistic Alchemist. I am causing a miraculous transformation in the motherhood journey through talk therapy, self-care, and holistic wellness. And so I have these live check-ins. I used to do monthly workshops called Mom Event Talk Therapy, which we're going to get back to at some point. But in the meantime, I decided to do these weekly live check-ins and have this space for moms, and not just mothers, but their husbands, their brothers, uncles, grandmas, aunties, to just come into this space and really be invited into the world of a mother, because everyone needs to be mothered because we come from a mother. And when we're not taking care of our mental wellness and our self-care, it really does affect the way we show up in our households, with our family, and in the world. So I am so happy to have you because you are in this work. And we're both like in the birth work. I'm more on the level of education, like birth education, birth justice, with many of the people as well who are joining us in this room are also birth workers and birth advocates. So for when I'm using a new term now, carbonated mamas. Yes, being invited. Oh, well, yes, being invited into the world, being invited into the world of being a mother. Yes, yes. So this is our amazing guest. She is also happens to be my Be the Tree sister, and she is a coach for this amazing organization that is founded by one of our dear, dear, dear sisters, Shawnee Benton Gibson, and she's actually here in this call. And hopefully, Shawnee, I can get you too. Shawnee's been busy doing a lot of different things, but so she is my Be the Tree sister. She is an educator and resilience coach. And on that note, I am going to pass it over to you, Kinyofu, so you can continue to tell us more about who you are and what you do.
All right, awesome. Thank you for having me on, Omena. And you're doing great work as well. So
thank you.
I inspire generations of resilience from wombs to classrooms and even Zooms. Thank you for adding that in. I was like, that is so cool.
Right, because we've had to pivot.
Right, absolutely. And I also want to thank you for that great video. That was just absolutely amazing. I'm like, what's she talking about? Is that me? So that was really a huge affirmation. Thank you.
Yeah, I really do believe in your work. I really do. And your purpose. This is not just your work. This is your purpose.
Thank you. Thank you. So it is. And I come from birth. I come from the birth work also. And that's how all this began. So it's a journey around the world, but it landed me right here. And I feel like I'm connected to birth, but like the other side, you know, there's the two-side coin. And on one side is the giving birth, on the other side is you're the parent with the child. But, you know, there's that line. So, and I'll explain my journey if you're interested.
Yes, I would like for you to give us that bit of your journey so we know a little bit about who you are. So that's awesome, because this is the part where you're telling us about who you are, and if you can include in that how you actually got to this stage of the work that you're in right now.
Yep. It's a definite path. I didn't know it at the time. So giving birth naturally led me to teach natural birth. And in teaching natural birth, I was like, so I had all this passion. It's like, yes, my body did it, your body could do it also. And so many women came through my classes and didn't have that umph that I had. They might have come in like, yes, I want to do it, but at the end of the day, they weren't able to fully have the birth of their desire. So part of that had to do with their choices. Other part had to do with their belief in themselves. And it took me, I was like questioning every step of the way. It's like, why, what's happening here? Why can I do it and they can't? And I'm just one of those people who will be, I could be out off on the grid on some things. So for one thing, even before thinking about having children, I decided I wasn't going to take medicine anymore, even aspirin. And I didn't realize how radical that was.
Yes.
I will go to work with a headache, knowing that I'm going to get rid of it by drinking water and you know, calming my mind. And I would just mention, I might look away. And so a coworker would say, well, why do you look like that? What's wrong? And I said, I have a headache. Oh, do you want an aspirin? No, I don't want an aspirin. You sure you don't want an aspirin? Everybody always, that was always, they were drug dealers, right? That's what it felt like. I'm like, no, it's my body. I know what I'm doing.
Right.
So that was who I was. Now, most people are not going to say, I don't want an aspirin for a headache. Now, and so that's just the headache. Here you go into labor, right? Which is 100 times more than a headache, depending on who you are.
Right.
And no medicine for me. No, no, thank you.
Right.
A lot of people don't have that grit. But it's about really getting into who you are. So I went to school to figure out what was happening with women and why they didn't have the basic foundation of who they are and what their bodies can do. And I learned a bunch of things. And a piece, I'm not going to get into detail, but a piece is that feminism came, and feminism is great in that it gave us a lot. There was the women's health movement that came through feminism. The women's health movement had great potential. It gave us safe birth control. It gave us support in medical procedures.
Yeah.
And it gave us informed consent. And it gave us a bunch of other things. And it also gave us the conversation, the ability to have women talk about women's stories. And it gave us the ability in a smaller circle, in a much, much smaller circle, for us to examine our bodies, our inside the vagina bodies, the looking at the cervix bodies, and to maintain our fertility. But that was in response to illegal abortion. So when abortion became legalized, those small groups dissipated. And I think that's where we lost our power. The power was beginning to be built, and then it died down because now we were like, oh, well, we don't have to maintain our own fertility, because if we get pregnant, we can get a legal abortion. We don't need to, risk our lives anymore. And then we lost a bunch of other things along the way. Yep. So there's more around that, but I'm not going to get into that. The point is that was my aha. It was like, we need to get back to ourselves. So then red tents were created. I found out about the red tent book. I did the research, and I started curating red tents, which is a sacred women's circle. And I like to structure it, with the fabric and the cushions, and invite women in, and we can have this really cocooned, cushioned, safe, sacred space to have the talks that we didn't talk. We don't have, the comfort or the safety to talk about. So in that journey, I was like, this is good. It's not enough, because I was also working in a school system. It was a public school system. And what I noticed was that these children from kindergarten up to 5th grade, I was working in a grade school, were cutting up and acting a fool. They were failing their classes. They weren't interested in studying. They were fighting. They were cursed in kindergarten, talking kindergartens too. Okay, so these are 6-year-olds. Now I need to just kind of turn the clock back just a little bit. I had been working at a maternity home for girls who were pregnant. I was teaching them childbirth education. That was about 6 years ago. Okay, you getting the picture? So 6 years later, I'm in inner city school teaching children that could have been theirs. I don't know if it was a connection, but they were sourced from varying neighborhoods, and that was one of the neighborhoods that they came from. So while I was there, I saw these girls fighting each other. Pregnant girls. I would have to be stopped. I couldn't come into the room because the staff was breaking up this fight for 2 9-month-old pregnant women, probably fighting over some guy. So, and I say that because I heard stories. They would very authentically tell me stories about their lives. So I'm wondering if that's what they are gestating, because I'm knowing that, when I was carrying my children, I was feeding them. I was not just, I was nurturing them from my mind and my body. I was creating them. I was co-creator. And I
Yep.
knew that everything I did was going to go into my child. I was programming them, right? So I programmed my children for a certain way, and those girls were programming their children, not knowing that they were programming their children. And here these 6-year-old children, being who they were, projected to be who the fifth graders were, and being in the world being whoever, which is not what I wanted to see. My future, I don't want to see my future being supported or guided by adults who they're not centered in who they are and how to be supportive and nurturing and loving to each other. So I went back to school to become an educator, thinking that that the education system was wrong, and I have some insight that could fix it. In that, I learned about ACEs. So now it's not even about me becoming an educator in the school system. It's more like I have this information as to what's happening with the families. ACEs is adverse childhood experiences. So that's all the adversities that we're familiar with. But there were 10 adversities that were focused on in this study that was done in 1991 or 1992. And these are middle upper class white people and educated. And what the study found out was that those people who had shorter lifespans, higher stress issues, mental illness, as a child, they had these 10 ACEs, and I'll explain what they are. It's separation, family separation or divorce. It's household violence. It's mental illness. It's someone in the family was incarcerated, and it was, what's this fifth one? Is
sexual abuse.
Well, that's a whole nother category. So I want to say substance abuse, and then there's the categories of the abuses, the sexual abuse, the mental abuses, and neglects, right? So that's in and of itself. That's 5 categories. All the abuses and the neglects are 5 categories, plus the other 5. That's 10. In our communities, we have other issues. Right? So we have that, and we have things like caregiver abuse or homelessness and immigration and neighborhood violence, okay, racism and foster care. So, and the list goes on. Now, the big picture there is that in the Kaiser Permanente study, 2 out of 3 people had at least 1 ACE, and 1 out of 6 people had 4 or more ACEs. And those statistics are pretty common whatever population that you go in. Though there's the more ACEs increases the chances of us having more adversity, obviously. So okay, so let me see where I'm at. So that's where I'm at. So then I started to create programs in order to help families, realizing that I'm not being effective in the school system, but the school system is catching on. They're understanding about ACEs, but they're really taking small steps to do it. Trauma-informed is one conversation that you might hear, and that's really having the staff, all staff, not just teachers and principal, but also the maintenance person and the social worker and the cafeteria person understand that these children, it's not about that there's something wrong with these children, but it's about what happened to those children. And so what happened to those children are all those ACEs.
And so in your work, you incorporate in your Parenting with Ease classes Well, actually, I guess you can talk about that too a little bit, but is that something that, or why you started incorporating ACEs into these Parenting with Ease workshops?
Yeah, the reason why I started the Parenting with Ease workshops was to affect the parents, so the parents can have some insight into who they are, and to realize to take a look at their childhood, because we go there, we look at your childhood to see. So if you're triggered by something your child is doing, is likely because you had an experience as a child with your parent, and that's unresolved. So you look at that and then just cut the ties, to say, okay, well, that's me, and that's something that has nothing to do with my child. So I can create a new with my child. And so we're moving forward with that. And now I'm looking at the child, and I'm helping, I'm being conscious to the moment, and respecting the individual that I gave birth to, and listening and understanding, learning to understand, learning and being curious.
You dropped so many jewels just now. I mean, from the cervixes having bodies, wombs having bodies. I've actually never heard someone address wombs and cervixes as its own body, which I think is very key too. To, going into a system, making the connection between these parents who you were working with at some point, and then you don't know if these are their children now who are repeating similar patterns, just being able to see the different stages to, coming in. And I see where the resilience coaching part of what you do is so essential, because had you given up when you were in that school and said, that's it, I'm not going to do it. Also, you mentioned this, you said, I was growing my babies. I was nurturing my babies. I was talking to them when they were in utero, in the womb. And I feel like that is a point that we don't really talk and discuss enough, because I really do feel a lot of the problems that we're experiencing, especially racism, has something to do with that mom and what that mother was feeling and what she was going through, or the thought she was thinking, or her past. Like you're talking about the triggers of your childhood. Maybe she was triggered because what was your womb world like for you to come out? Like, how do you birth a murderer? How do you give birth to or someone who grows up to be a murderer? Because we're not going to say that that's who they were, right? Like, I mean, clearly you learned some patterns, but I do think that when they are in utero, there's something that kind of shifts them more towards that type of behavior. Also, along with the principles and the values that you're teaching your children in your household. I do believe that as well. I read to Ari every night when he was in my belly. Yeah, same things, Andrea. I sang to Aza. This one, Kiyom, this last one that I had, I definitely kept him music playing in my belly because I had a very painful pregnancy with him. Yes, and mental health. Zandrea is one of my dear sisters. Yeah, oh, you all know Zandrea because she's a sister too. But yeah, so also similar in the work of like, therapy, mental health, wellness, and all of that. So will you post this on? Yes.
When I was pregnant with my son, I would play whale music because that was really relaxing to me. I would actually put the what do you call the thing? The little player on my belly. His first cries sounded like a whale. But he did that for like 2 days. He sounded like a whale cry.
But you were so ahead of your time. I feel not ahead of your time, but back in because you had your son in what, the 80s? You said he was an 80s baby.
He was born in 91.
Okay, he was born in 91. And so 91, I can't say, maybe there was home births back then that were popular, but I do still feel like, where did you get this from? Like, how did you learn, and how did you have the desire to say to yourself, I'm not taking medications, I'm having natural births? We know how you got into the work, and that's just amazing, because I feel like there's no happenstance. There's not like, it's consequential. No, you know what? I was led, and all of the things that happened that brought me here today just make so much sense in what I'm doing right now, because you can see that with just the way people respond to you. And I've been in your workshops, both your Zoom, and had a one-on-one with you, and I've been in your red tents, and it's just like amazing to see how these women are responding. But I don't want to get so caught off the thing, because you said so many things that I was like, wow, she's making and hitting such points. For any moms and parents that are on here, can you give us a little bit more about how you help them to break the trigger that they have, how you help them to cut that cord? Because I know for me, I am definitely triggered. I will now look at, and I'm sure I can associate my triggers and how I was parented, but my triggers also, I find, have a lot to do with me personally not living up to a standard that I've set for myself as a mom. So I'm kind of projecting, right, my dissatisfaction with my own self onto my child. But how do you actually break the cord? Like, I mean, like, I've looked at it now, we've identified that this is the trigger, and it came from the 0 to 7. So like, what's one thing that you can tell us that you do, that you maybe give to a parent to help them cut that cord, especially for someone listening right now who just feels like maybe overwhelmed and,
Yeah. Well, forgiveness for one. So, you are a product of your childhood, but you don't have to carry it as a burden. So if you accept that and you are not here, you're here because of who you were. So it's another two-sided coin. So you're experiencing what you're experiencing, quite likely because of how you were raised, but you're here, and that how you were raised has you be in a space of being unique, and there's some gift and something you'll learn. That was something for you to learn from. So now your role is to find out what it is that you need to learn. So it's not about blame or guilt. It's not about regret or upset. It's about, okay, this is who I am. This is what I have. Now what? What can I do with it? And your question about how I don't know how I was able to make those decisions. I know that I always had this vision of there being a perfect world, like a utopian world, where everybody got along. And I always felt like being a woman was very special, but I wasn't hearing that from women. So I would hear the horror stories about the births, and I'm like, why is that? Then when I found, and I was curious enough to put myself in a position to learn things. And when I heard that there was a midwife, back in the day, it was like conversations midwife back in the day, oh, women did that, right? That was like, huh. But it wasn't like happening today, but it was just in my brain, like that was what happened. But when I found out that they're midwives today, then I was like, oh snap, really? let me find out, let me know more. And then it just started to flow in. And I was like, what do I have to lose? I was already terrified of hospitals. That's the thing. I was terrified of hospitals because every story I heard, if anybody that went into a hospital, there was something that wasn't healthy, it wasn't happy. And I didn't want to be giving birth in a hospital. I didn't know that there was another way until I found out about midwives. So I was like, oh, this is going to work. This is good. I'm going to make this happen. And that's all.
So you were really light years ahead of your approach to parenting from just the being that you were and how you came in, because you were making these decisions and choices of living a holistic life or leading a holistic life and understanding the importance of the two. Like, okay, well, I don't even know if you, like you said, consciously knew that that's what you were doing, but you were so light years ahead of, I'm sure, what everyone was thinking or maybe doing at that time, because the 90s and the late 80s was really a tough time in New York City. You know what I mean? But it was also this booming time as well, like, because there were a lot of, carbonated families. Y'all gonna hear me say that a lot. Melinated, carbonated families that were sort of, because we were coming out of the crack, right? The crack pandemic, moving into this sort of like, I want to say, economic uprise in our communities, because we had a lot of programs that were very supportive for parents. I know in my mom's hospital, they had something called the Catch program, which did a similar thing to like the ACEs, where they provided these mothers and families with counselors and checkups, and they would do like they would have like activities for the children in early childhood, not intervention, but like, these things that they did. So that was like in the 90s, really from the 70s to the 90s. So I think you were just light years ahead of what was considered normal. And I want you to now talk a little bit about what your process was as a mom when your children are now here and you are doing this work. So how did you incorporate them, into the work that you were doing? Like if you had a workshop, were you bringing them to workshops? If you were, I don't know, leading a red tent, were they there with you? Like, what was that like, parenting and then doing this type of work with the mothers?
Yeah, when I was teaching childbirth education, my daughter was about 6 years old. My son was about 8 years old. So I would have, they came to me I was working at WIC. They came with me to the WIC office. Particularly my daughter, because she was about 18, 19 months old. So she definitely came with me. And then years later, when I got certified to teach, then they would come after school. They would come to the clinic that I was teaching at. So a couple of times she even came to the maternity home, and my daughter. But it was just like to create the convenience. So if her father wasn't around, to take them for that time period, then I was grateful that I worked in the field where I could bring my children. And it was a little uncomfortable at times, because when I brought her to the maternity home, I just had to have a little, I don't know what I did, but it was just the fact that those girls, anything could come out of those girls' mouths. So I tried to have a conversation to balance out what she heard or what she saw. But 9 out of 10 times she wasn't even paying attention. So she was reading a book or doing something, to occupy herself. She definitely, I don't recall her like sitting there like listening like that. So now my tent, when I did my first tent, she might have been like 20 years old, 20, 21 years old. And she was there. She was there to help me. My son as well. They helped me to construct the tent. And my daughter's always been there to help me think about the marketing, think about the look of something, to think about what other parents are thinking about. So she's been a great support for me in all of this.
You said this is your mom.
This is my daughter.
Your daughter, got it. Okay, sorry. I was responding to the ladies.
And my mom, she's always a support too. So from time as long as I can remember being small, my mother was always there. So if I did something, she was there. So
that's so beautiful.
I don't know. I'm trying to remember. She hasn't actually come into a red tent. As far as I can remember, she hasn't been in a red tent, but she's probably been in the tent in Zoom. So I've done tents in Zoom with Wake Up Everybody and outside of Wake Up Everybody. And it's, I think she was there, but I do know that she does attend the other Zoom workshops, and, she might even be on here. I'm not even sure if she knows how to get on here, but if she is, I wouldn't be surprised.
Aww. See, every mother needs to be mothered. So amazing.
Yeah. That's cool.
So your daughter was very supportive, and what about your son?
Yeah, he's supportive.
Yeah, but like when you were doing all of this work too, and you would have him as well, what would he be doing?
Playing with his sister. So if he came, she was there. So they were like this. Wherever I brought one, most likely there was the other. He never came to the maternity home though, but
Mm-hmm.
he would be at the childbirth classes. He would be sometimes with the WIC. But at WIC, when I was working at WIC, he was in another school program because he was older. But yeah,
Yeah.
they play together and he supports. So if I'm building a physical tent, he'll get something from me from storage or from the house and bring it. If I'm doing a presentation, like the last time I did a presentation, no, it was the Be the Tree Rites of Passage. We were supposed to wear white. I had this outfit all set up on the hanger, left it at the house. So my son brought it to me, and that was great. So I'm totally blessed to have somebody that's open enough to be able to do something like that for me, because he could have been like, oh, heck no, I'm not. I got my own thing to do. That's your bad, you know.
Yeah. Let me ask you this. That's amazing. And I know not everyone's parenting experience is that. We are definitely able to achieve that, to have parenting skills that allow us to forgive ourselves. You said that forgiveness piece, and it is really really amazing to 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 notice that forgiveness is not anything that has to do with I'm going to look outside and forgive this person for what they did, but rather look inside and say, what's been the inner dialogue with me? Like, what have I been telling myself? What are some things that I've believed from my childhood? Because I think when you're able to do that as a parent, yes, you can definitely communicate better. There's some things I've forgiven, and there are some things that I have not, which totally not just affect the way I parent, but just the way I show up in the world. Like, you're giving such great pointers on what we can do to just really be these divine beings, because I also too have this sort of idea. Somebody can say, oh, that's like, you're what's the word when people are saying, like, I just went blank, y'all, forgive me, this detox. But, like, where you're just like, that's not realistic, Omena. It's not realistic that love is something that everybody can achieve. And I remember writing in this book, and I said, what if love was a supplement that people actually took? And you took this supplement, right, or this pill, and you immediately begin to go through this cellular vibrational change in your body, from your cells to your blood to your thoughts and everything. And the only thing you felt was just love. Imagine how people would be walking around. There would be no crime. There wouldn't be overeating or depression or any of these medical interventions. You wouldn't need to be in a hospital or, medicated for anything, because you literally would be operating from the highest vibration and frequency of love, which is what we come from. So I don't think that was cliche or idealistic at all. I absolutely agree and understand that point of how can I work from the premise of what's important, and that is the household. Let's talk about that. Let's talk about okay, so let me say this first. For parents who are struggling to have that type of communication with themselves and with their children, and if they have their partners in the household, what would be something that you can offer to them now? Because I'm sure that there might be a parent that might be feeling guilty, that might be feeling like, okay, she's saying all of these amazing things, but I don't really relate, or maybe I do relate. But for those who don't relate, what would you offer them if they're struggling right now to work on their parenting and communication skills?
Definitely affirmations. So first, I'm love. I love myself. I am capable. I am brilliant. I'm a great mother. I love my children. Like, just real simple things that if you feel like you need more of, turn it into an affirmation. If you're yelling, you're impatient, the affirmation is, I am patient. I am peaceful.
Wow. Thank you. That's more helpful too, because, like, it's like really more so for people who, like, don't know. Okay, so, like, what's an affirmation, and I don't feel like it. Like, I don't feel like doing any of that stuff right now. How do your workshops help a parent like that? Like what you do?
Yeah. So you don't feel like, so it depends like what you don't feel like. There's an objection, but then there's a goal. So
Mm-hmm.
you want the goal of having a peaceful household. You want to have your child listen to you, and you want to be proud of your children. I
So
think
it's
that's
identifying exactly what it is I want. Um, are there cases where mothers you've worked with have not been able to do that, or is that something you ask questions? You'll say, "Hey, so what is the problem here? Like, what's going on, and what do you want to happen like out of this? What are your goals, or what are you looking to accomplish? Are those some
right.
similar questions that you?" Mhm.
Some parents is a process. So it really, so you, and it's multiple things that need to be done at the same time. So saying those affirmations, like you say, seeing the goal, creating the affirmations for yourself, saying the affirmations every day, right? Because we gotta keep feeding our brain what it is we want, and then looking at, just kind of, if you don't want to look totally, just peek and see what's behind us in our
Mhm.
childhood, like what's there, and then forgiving. So write a letter, talk to the
Mm,
person if you can, cry
mm,
it out, beat it out with a pillow and a stick, so that you can get the anger out, so it can be gone. And then but that's in and of itself is a whole nother process, because
mhm,
maybe you don't have time for that, but
mhm,
you do. It is something to be addressed. You could journal it, little bit by little bit, so that you can keep moving forward. But what's going to keep you present are the affirmations. What's going to keep you present is being grateful.
yes.
So I'm grateful for this house that I have over my head, the little apartment that I have. I'm grateful for this chair that's empty. I'm grateful for this person that offered a casserole for me today. I'm grateful for the sun rising. You know,
Yeah.
finding
Those
anything.
those are really key. Like I know being in your class, um, you had offered also us to breathe. I remember you going through this breathing exercise and helping us to pause. Like, so if that's coming up, like ways that you can pause and you can breathe and then ask, like you said, of course, going into the affirmation, but I feel like there was also another really pertinent question you had us ask ourselves. As it related to an incident happening, like for me, I have a teenager who is like really in her teenage stages, on top of having like these identity issues. And it's baffling to me, being the kind of person I am and the kind of mom, forget just even the mom, but just, yes, the mom, but the person I am. I'm like, how does my daughter have identity issues? Like, that's what's going on. Um, and there are many times that when she's doing something, like I said, 9 times out of 10, it's because I'm projecting. So I will stop and say, well, what's really going on here? Am I addressing the actual issue, or am I upset with the expectation of what I want her to be, or what she's not doing, or what she's not showing? And 9 times out of 10, it's the expectation. I'm not even really addressing the real issue. It's like, I'm annoyed and pissed off because you're denying and rejecting a part of me, and I gave birth to you. And like when you are out here and you're like all over these white people, and that's a gut punch to me, as opposed to, well, why is she feeling that way? Like what? And maybe not looking at it so much as a problem the way I do, because I look at it like it's an issue. Like that's a problem, that you don't like yourself. But I also had not identity issues, but I had esteem issues. When I was 14, um, even though I was always very confident and bubbly and outgoing, I had esteem issues. I had body issues. Like I was like, dang, I'm really skinny. All these girls are thick. Like all the girls had breasts way before me in junior high school. I was like, why do I not have breasts? But so I try to put myself in her place sometimes to catch myself and ask myself the question, like, am I addressing this thing? Is that what I'm or am I upset because, right? And then a lot of times too, we put a lot of we do project a lot of what we see our children. Everyone sees their child as brilliant and amazing, and oh, you're going to be so much better than me. You're going to do so many more things than I did. And I actually think that sometimes that can be also a downfall in the parenting, because you're not really able, you're not allowing them to just kind of show up how they, however they want to show up, because maybe I don't know, it's not, you're just not allowing them to show up in a way. Would you agree with that point? And then if you want to address and maybe give some more pointers to that.
Yeah, we give birth, the children we give birth to, there's a part of us that's in them genetically, but they are their individual people. So we have to recognize that. So when they might do something, it looks like something we did, or they have our mannerisms. Yes, that's going to be there, but they're still their own individuals. And if you are, we definitely can have our hopes and dreams for them, right? There's nothing wrong with that, but don't be offended if they create their own hopes and dreams, because they're different people. And it helps so much to remember yourself at their age, and what did you want to do, and what did your mother wanted you to do. So what was that dynamic like? And if you can remember how you didn't like that your parents said that you needed to do a thing, and that was something that was so different than what you wanted to do, you can remember that feeling, then you can acknowledge that your child is feeling the same way when you put something on them. So it's a conversation. You can let your child know, this is what I like. This is what I would like for you. This is why I would like it for you. I don't want to, and let them know I don't want to be too heavy on you, because this is my experience. This is my childhood experience. But so give your child the tools to make the decisions. Create the opening so they can come to you and talk to you about what it is that they want. Leave the judgment alone. The judgment will shut them down. The judgment will have them not come to you.
Yep.
And then you will wonder what's happening in their lives, and you won't know, because they won't be telling you, and they're doing stuff.
Nothing. They won't tell you anything. And I've had that too. I've definitely done some things very different than what my mom did with me, which was, my mother didn't talk or give me platforms to share my voice. Aza, I think, has a decent platform where she can come and she can speak to me. And even sometimes, I remember one time she said asshole or something, and I was like, did she just say asshole? But she was emoting, and I know she was releasing, and she needed to get some things out. So even though internally that's how I looked, I just, in that moment, my spirit allowed me to be there with her and not have this, all the little voices running in my head about, like, how what she's going through reflects on me. Where can I be a better mom? To, well, why is she doing that? It just, none of those voices were there. It was, let me just be present with her. And I didn't have a mom that actually did that to me. So it's not even something that I was taught to do. I think just from being around moms and being in this work, which is going to be the next phase we go into, it helped me to understand the importance of that. And then just trial and error, with her too. So you're absolutely right when you say that they have their own constitution. And as parents, it is important that we allow them to have that voice, because like you said, they won't know how to make decisions. They'll go out and they'll be like expecting mom or someone else to, help lead them and tell them which way to go or do this, or, so that's really key when you bring up those points. So now let's get into this whole birth work thing.
Before we go there, I do want to say that I wish that I knew so this is things I learned these things after my children were adults. I wish I had knew these things before. So, I hit some parenting walls, but I'm here because of them. So I'm here to say, right, that You might be you might be a parent of multiple children, but you still have questions, like that phrase that I shared, that you shared in the video. That came from me really recognizing that parenting my second child was very different than parenting my first child, and not knowing where to go to get the information, not wanting to go to the general parenting class because that was like changing diapers, it was, putting them to bed at a certain time, like all that stuff. But I know that stuff. But here's this my daughter, who is her very, very strong-willed and very attached to me, different than my son, who is free spirit, and he basically did what I asked him to do. He would stretch and do his own thing too, but at least he stayed within the guidelines. And there was this way that with my daughter that I couldn't, like, there was this going on from the time that she was an infant. So I didn't know where I can get the help, and I didn't want to be judged. I was also an older parent, and when she came along, I think I was 30 years old. So the parenting classes, these were 20-year-olds. So it was just, so I was like, I just stuffed it, learned from the parents, my friends who I did know. I asked them questions, so I'm grateful for them. And this is part of why I gave birth to Parenting with Ease.
That is so, I'm so glad you said that, because how many parents are on here? If you all can just put a 1 in the chat to answer this question. How many of you in here have more than one child and can relate to what Kinyofu was saying about those children having different multiple different personalities, not multiple, excuse me, different personalities from your children, and one being that challenging one, the other one being the easy one, and the other one kind of being like, I'm independent over here, I do my own thing. If you have 3, or if you have 2 like me that are living, and huge gap. So I understand, because I had Ozzy at turning 30. I was 29, and that next month I turned 30, literally a month after having her. And then Louise said me. Hi, Louise. Hey, Keish, and welcome to everyone that's just joining in. Welcome. We are talking with Kinyofu about her Parenting with Ease workshops that she does. She's giving, they are so different. Yeah, see? They're so different. And you know what? I'm so glad you said that when you were like, I'm going to these classes, I'm trying to like get information. I didn't want to be, too open because I don't want to be judged. I think many moms and fathers also feel this way. I don't want to leave out the fathers either. Many of the fathers and moms, maybe even more so the moms, feel this way. Right. Gina, you got that. Yes. Bilingual schools will do that. That's what Donovan said. Yeah. And I think that the work you're doing, as well as some of the other people I call, like, what you're doing, Kinyofu, is like holistic talk therapy, but you're really hitting and addressing ways of being that from the parental standpoint to even now the children. This is holistic talk therapy, and these types of therapies are very essential. Do you agree?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. And I feel that because I thought I was literally like going crazy, because I'm like, Ozzy was a different baby than what this baby is. So whereas Ozzy was very independent, it's actually the other way around to a degree from when they were younger. When I had my son was born, I had a planned home birth, and Kinyofu was a big support. Yay! So my daughter was more independent at a young stage. She was the wanderer. She would just go off, right? Whereas Kiyomi, he also can play by himself, but as a baby, he was on my breast, like, no, literally, like he cluster fed, and he's still on it to this day. That's the thing, holistic talk therapy. Yeah, Sheila, he is still on my breast to this day, where he's up underneath me, and I'm like, I got that yuck. She must have knew, like, you know what? I can't be up underneath my mom like this. I mean, she cried a lot, because she had colic and stuff like that. But it's just two different children. If I spoke to her and told her not to do something, she didn't do it. The son, even now at 2, he's like, but for what? At 2, she got it. He doesn't get it. So it's kind of the reverse, and you know, and then they're also a huge 12 years apart. They're not even, you know, in the same generation for real, you know, like they're literally like 12 years apart. So it's I'm so glad you brought that up, because sometimes your children have you thinking like you're crazy. But I like that you went and you were seeking this you know, help. And so did you ever find it? Did you ever find help or assistance with how to deal with your daughter at that time and at that age?
I was really just really living vicariously through other parents, looking at how other parents were with their children and asking them what to do, how they did, trying trial and error. I also learned trial and error. I learned that if you know, I could do something, it might work, and if it doesn't, I'll try something else. So in that I learned to forgive. I didn't have the answers. It didn't seem like anybody really had the answers. Everybody that gave me an answer to any one particular question was a different answer. So I was like, okay, I get it. I'm getting information, but I'm still kind of on my own in a sense. And I also trusted that Spirit was going to support my family, support my children, support the process. And I also get, even now, it's like my children they're still individual people. They now get to seek out what it is that they need, right? No parent is perfect. I know I wasn't perfect. I'm not even going to try to say that. So I know that there's some residue that I have, that they have, that I left, that they get to fix. And that's life. We all get to strive for that thing to fix.
What is that? Can we really talk about that? Thank you, Louise. Thank you so much. What is this thing about parents that, especially moms, fathers, y'all can chime in too, but I think mothers feel like, hey, Jolia, welcome. Mothers feel like we have to be perfect. And it's not even like we always say it, but what is that about? That whole thing of, I have to be perfect. And you mentioned something as well about the books, because that was a huge disappointment for me. I read so many books before I had Ozza, because after my first son, I was like, no, I have to really be equipped. You know, like I got to be even more equipped. So I have to read the books. I have to know, so that, you know, I'm educated and certain things don't happen again. And I just want to be equipped as a mom, like when my daughter comes. So I had this sort of vision of what motherhood was and what it looked like, as opposed to what it actually is. So why do you think a lot of moms, and maybe even some fathers too, have this whole idea about the perfect parenting, like the perfect role of parenting?
Our culture judges. Our culture judges parents. If a child does a thing, we look at the parent as being the cause. And maybe there's some, you know, there's definitely responsibility there. But it's not, it's a look like you're bad. It's a look like you don't know what the heck you're doing. It's a look like you have totally disrupted society, nature and society. I don't know. It's a really heavy hand that is put on parents and mothers, particularly. Fathers have a little bit more leeway than mothers. So now, no matter what a mother does, somebody's going to judge her, right? So if she goes to the grocery store with her toddler and the toddler falls to the ground, if she ignores the toddler, somebody's going to be looking at her like, why aren't you grabbing that child? If she goes to grab, now in another day, if she grabs that toddler child, picks him up and tells him to stop, somebody's going to say, why aren't you doing it that way?
Yes.
Right? We can't win. So if you can't win, do what you feel is right in your heart. But understanding that the beauty of the child and understanding the strength of you. You know?
I want to read some of these comments here. because I love it. Mercy in Favor said the world systems and other parents also might be part of that cause. And Donovan was saying all day, I think, to what you were saying. And Jolea says, I believe it's that subconscious fear of letting them down, as well as when things go wrong with your children. Most times moms are just blamed. And you were just saying, a lot more leeway. Yeah. Even our other friends and families. Yeah. So it is true. We do come from a very judgy culture, period.
You're breaking
And
up, Omena.
oh, I'm sorry. Sorry. Am I still breaking up?
Your face is becoming less pixelized gradually.
Oh, wow.
Well,
But
now,
now,
not really. Yeah,
um,
I don't know what you did different.
I don't know either, because I look clear on my end and you look clear and I can hear
Oh,
you perfectly.
so maybe it's me. I don't know, but you're good now.
Okay. What about, okay, it's fuzzy. Am I fuzzy,
No,
Sheila? I'm fuzzy.
you're fine for me.
Okay, let's try that now. Okay. Is that better?
That's good.
Uh, I'm still breaking up.
No.
Oh, you moved rooms, I think. I'm in the same room. Might have just been the way I picked up my phone, or it could be this reception that's going on. You know, I do have my Wi-Fi on. Okay, clear. Queen Matt says it's
You're okay.
clear. Good. Okay, perfect. Yeah. We're very judgy. Hey, Lil E. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for being here. So it's really I'm so glad that you said that, because you know, how do we stop that, Kinyofu? Like, no matter what, people are going to judge, right? So how do we stop ourselves from taking in what we're hearing and then making that be like the truth about who we are? Because a lot of times we'll make it the truth about, oh, well, damn, you know. Because I mean, look, I've been there. I was there in Target. My son the other day was, and I guess I really don't care. I kind of have that, I don't give a freaking frack. That's kind of my personality with a lot of things. So, and I wish you would. But I was having a moment with him because, like I said, he's off the hook, right? He would not stop. I'm pulling the pulley with the stuff. I had our items in the cart. I'm pulling the pulley, and this kid decides he's going to get on the floor and hold on to these dirty wheels. I'm already OCD, okay? That's my thing. Gonna hold on to the wheels, and I'm pulling. He just falls down, and he's dragging with the cart on it, like his body is sweeping up whatever germs and bacteria is on the floor. So, you know, I was like, okay, stop it. Like, come on, Keon, stop. Come on, get up. Then he's like, let go of that. He's running around the store. I was like, come on, Keon, no, mommy's just coming in here to get a few things. Like, you know, please, like, come on. Now, this must have been, I also have a problem with repeating myself multiple times. So the last straw for me was when he ran off again. I got him. I was running after him. I got him. And I know people are like, this is part of motherhood. Omena, this is what you're going to be going through. But in my 40s, I just feel like I don't have the same level of patience. I thought I would get it. And I know I need to practice it some more. But I just kind of don't, you know. But I'm not going to say that because I did pretty good. The last straw for me was when he ran off and went into this like hole, like where they have the shoes, and it was really dusty and dirty in there, and he's laughing. I'm like, come on, Keon, like, come on, like, mommy's not playing. Like, okay, cool, like, come on, let's go. I'm going after him. He is like, look, he breaks away. Honey, I snatched him up. I didn't even realize I did it, and I was like, oh, if somebody sees me, oh well. When I got him, I snatched him up, and I was like, oh, I'm not playing, stop it now. His face was like, and I said, oh boy, my baby, I'm sorry. I mean, you know, I mean, after you do it, you're like, okay, but I was like, how many times, you know, like, I just want to get in and out of this place because I really don't like Target like that. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't really like to be in the stores, not because of this whole pandemic thing. It's just sometimes I don't want to be around people. You know what I'm saying? And I just don't want to be in the stores like that. But honey, I know. Look, I didn't even get the shopping cart, Mercy, because I was like, oh, I'm just gonna put the stuff in the car in a little I had a pulley thing that I bought with me to Target, because I wasn't even staying there long. I was just getting a few items. But that's a good idea too, because that is what keeps him grounded. I noticed that when I put him in a shopping cart and I'm doing like a big shop, that'll help him with his energy, because he's highly, highly active. Which is great because he's gonna have a brilliant mind. But I'm sorry, I've been there. I've been that parent that's been like, and I can give two shits. Go on ahead and say what you want to say. But I'll say that, but I do feel bad. Not that I'm gonna hold on to what someone is saying, but I do feel bad when I yell at him like that, and when I do that, because I snatched him up so quick. It was like, I'm just, come on. And he was good for the rest of the evening. I think he was like, okay. I said, somebody talk to him, okay? Wait, what happened? My oldest daughter has a scar on her lip because when she was near 2 and did not want to leave, I had her hand and she was dragging back, lost her footing, swung and smacked her little face on the doorway. I'm telling the same, Sheila. He's done that too. He's done that too, where like I'll run after him. He had a little scratch right on his head right now in his mouth. The same thing. And he just busted his whole gum. Like this whole part of his tooth right here is like, I thought his tooth was loose because he likes to step on the glass. I don't know what it is. I don't know what it is about these new ones. But yeah, so we have definitely been there, and we do come from a very judgy world, and parenting books don't always help. But what would you say, what advice would you give, especially to like new moms who are coming on this parenting scene? What would be some jewels you would leave with them?
To design to first design what it is, how you want to be a parent. Design what you want for your children. And then like go backwards. So that's the goal, and then come back. So what is it? What does the household need to be? What does the household need to have? And then coming back with a little bit more, how can I support that? So how you can support anything is centering yourself. So that's where the meditation comes in. The couple of breaths, right? Breathing yourself, breathing, so that you can know what peace feels like. And if you are feeling peace, then when you're not feeling peace, then you're like, oh no, this is not right. So that what you might be experiencing is what's not right for you, what you don't feel comfortable with. So you know that something needs to change, either in you or in the experience that you're having. You can also decide, in your non-peace state, what is not working for the family. So if this is not a peaceful feeling for you, then it's not a peaceful feeling for the family. Your children pick up off your energy. So if you're peaceful, they're peaceful. If you're stressed, concerned, fearful, they're going to be stressed, concerned, fearful, and they're going to react based on that. And how they react is not necessarily predictable, right? So they could just do what they do and feeling how they feel in the moment, and you're thinking that they're being rude, disrespectful, but they're just reacting to you. So if you could check back into yourself, then you can say, oh, okay, so something is in me. Let me go take time and figure that out. So have the plan, create the environment for the plan, and then stay focused, stay present.
Yeah. Gina, Fit Life, she said, I'm 30 and I don't have the patience I used to have back in the days. And I think the older we get, our patience is worse, I think. Gina, I think what she just gave us, because I'm actually taking notes, I think what she just said might help you and I both, Gina, because I relate to you. And then how to better relationships with grown children, which we're going to get into as well. But can you say that last thing you said about the family? I want to get that. I want to write that down. It was a question you said we could ask ourselves, or looking at the family, or what? Say that part again.
Okay, you want to maintain the environment that you want for the family, right? Mm-hmm. The environment is going to support the goal that you have for the family. If something is not, I don't know exactly what I said, but I know that this is the concept. If you're not feeling that the environment is supporting the family or your child right then and there, then you focus or pivot, you know. So you're using your emotions as a guidance system. So if you feel good, your child will feel good. If you feel bad, your child will feel bad. That's keeping it simple.
Can
And
you
it's an experiment.
It's an experiment. I did want to ask you, with where you are right now, you said something, or I saw something on your page yesterday, which was you're never too old to stop parenting or needing to be parent. Does your daughter feel that way? Or that's not the question I want to ask. So with that, how are your children now that they're in your 20s? Do they still come to you for parental advice? And do you still parent them in a way where you're giving advice? Or you're always constantly like looking out for them in some kind of way?
I see my children as individual adults, mature, responsible adults. And I try not to, I'll offer a suggestion and I'll let it go. And if I feel myself coming back, like being a little bit too forceful, then I'll check myself and step back. I'll put, if I see something is important, I'll say why it's important. And then give them a choice. They always have the choice. I'm not, and you know, I don't see myself, and I have to say this because how we see ourselves is not necessarily how somebody else sees us, right? So I'm saying that I'm not seeing myself as being pushy or forceful, and and that I respect and that I am respectful of my children making their decisions.
Yeah. And that's a good thing to say, because you know what? I think Ozzy feels sometimes that I don't do that for her. Like, I don't allow her to make decisions, or I don't allow her to make choices. So and you know what? I think another big part of that, and even though she's not as old as your children, I do still see her as like, I don't always see her as safe when she leaves me, right? This is just how I feel. Because of certain behaviors and patterns, I've noticed that when we've been out, she's not paying attention. However, with me feeling that, I have taken her advice when she talks to me, and I actually every day allow her to go out every day by herself without me. She's been traveling on trains since she was like 11 years old. But I still would worry. I would be like, oh my God, is she going to get there? Is she going to take the bus? You know? And so as she's getting older, you know, or mature, you know, as she's becoming a teenager, I do make sure that I'm checking myself to give her more of a voice and to give her more of a outlet to make choices, you know. So that's key that you say that, because I think you have to see them as individuals, and especially I'm assuming when they're like young adults living on their own. And your daughter has a family of her own now too, right?
Yes. She has 2 children. So she does come to me for parenting advice from the perspective of being a parent. So she'll do that. My son might ask me an occasional question here and there, but for most part, he's like, yeah, Mom. But I wanted to say the safety piece. I remember, so this is even me as an adult, right? When I'm with, and I notice this not just with my mother, but with other people. I'll say crossing the street, for instance, okay? If I'm crossing the street by myself, I'm aware of what's around me. If I'm crossing the street with someone else, this is something I notice about myself even today, that I will not be so conscious of, especially if it's a man, right? I will not be so conscious of the cars, the signs, because I'm following, right? And so I'm like, what is that about? Like, so there's that piece where I'm saying when you're with your daughter, you're noticing your daughter not being safe when you're with her, but she's probably safe when she's not with you. So
Yeah.
you trained her, but when she's with you, she might have her guard down,
Her
like
guard
mom
down.
got me. Right. So that, and then the worry is unnecessary, because if you know that you gave her what she needs,
Mm.
then why
Mm.
worry? Be
Mm.
trustful. And I had the experience. My son was about 15, about 14, 15 years old, and he and his friends, they went on this somewhere. I was like, yep, here's your, you have the Metro card. Come back by that certain time. Call. I trust y'all. Have fun. Well, hours passed beyond the time that he was supposed to come back, and I'm like, okay, I'm not worried yet. He's going to be here soon. Not going to worry yet. He's not here yet, but he'll be here soon. Something must have gone wrong. Then one of the parents called me, and she's all in the huff and the puff, and she's all worried, and I'm like, she's making me worry, but I'm not going there. So I told her, like, no, at some point, you have to cut the cords. You have to trust. I know my son is, got some brains in his head, so I know that something went wrong, and they're trying to figure it out. So they came in so late. What happened is that they, following the older kid in the crowd, believing that he knew what he was doing, was the wrong way to go. But they got off at the wrong train stop. They ran out of money on their Metro card. They ran out of battery life on their phone, and they had to walk wherever they needed to go. So that was the story. And I totally believe that. Things happen.
Yeah.
So it was, but if I had worried, it was at that moment that I said, I'm not going to worry. He's fine. Because worrying wasn't feeling good.
Yeah.
I don't know what that parent did. I told her what I told her. She got off the phone. I don't know if she ever stopped worrying, but I don't think she did.
But your sons came home. Your children came
My
home.
son, yeah, it was my son and his friends. He came home. He was
And
fine.
her son came home. See, I'm more like that parent. And when you say your children model your behavior, it just made me think about the mindset I was in when I was in that Target store. I already had like some anxiety, I guess, around not just wanting to be in and out. First of all, I don't like wearing masks. I just don't. I mean, people can judge me and say what they want. I'm not really into it. And so I'm not, and I definitely don't cover my nose. I'm not doing that. I don't care for anybody. You can judge, say what you want. The mask really does not protect you from anything. And, but so there was that piece, right? Because every time I seem to be in the store, someone wants to say something. Not that anybody said anything that day, but I did walk in there with a level probably of like, not anxiety, like, but just, I was rushing. It was like, come on, in and out, gotta go. I want to go home. And so I think that is probably what, hey, Sister Naima and Love Thyself, thank you for joining, who just joined in. You said your children respond the way you respond, and that's what it was. My son was so playful and just so not listening. He was like, what this lady need is a chill pill. She need a chill pill. She need to be laughing and running around the store like me, you know?
Okay. Right.
She need to be sliding on the floors like me. And then, like I said, the OCD thing, Lord have mercy. I have had this way before, some kind of virus. I always wash my hands. I walk around with my little stuff, like, and you talked about with your son just now, this level of surrender. That's what I just heard. Like, I surrendered, and I said, I taught my son, he knows. I have confidence in him. He knows something must have happened, because this is not how you used logic in that sense. And that's where I feel logic is important. Mm-hmm. The balance between being an emotional and logical person has to meet in the middle like that. So that right there was so key just now, because it just helped me to surrender to, the way I approach my daughter and the way I see her in certain instances with what's going on right now with us. So yeah.
Also, I remember going out, whenever we would go out, I would do a huddle with my children. It's like, okay, we're going to get on the train. I need you all. I need to see you all. I need you all to be on my side. So we're going to hold my hand. right? If I need to let your hand go, you stay right by me. I have these bags. I need you to help me. When, you know, like we have to sit, I set it out like what to expect so that, and I'm like, we're together, right? You're representing me. You're representing the family. So you might see some kids in the train acting up. You're not gonna do that. We could observe them, but we're not gonna do that. That's not a way to do. So that whole store scenario, it would have been like, yeah, so we're not running up and down the aisles. We're not going to be yelling. You did get me? And I also knew that there was no quick moves, anything. I knew that anytime I left the house with the children, it was going to be a couple of hour experience. Even if I were doing it on my own and it could have been a 10-minute thing, I knew like, okay, 2 hours. So there was no rush.
Right. So that's good because that set yourself up. You set yourself up, then you just said you gave yourself 2 hours to do what it is you needed to do so that it wasn't a thing of like, I didn't have anywhere to be. I just, for some reason that day, didn't want to be in the store. I really didn't want to be. I didn't even want to initially go there because certain stores, I have to like muster up like the energy. Trader Joe's is another one of those stores, you know? But I just didn't feel like that day. I was really just not in the mood to be in a store setting, and I probably should not have gone, but he needed his milk and some other things that we needed in the house.
Right. Then that's your emotional guidance system. You weren't listening to yourself. So for whatever reason, you didn't want to do that day. So maybe there's another way to get what you needed. But listening to yourself is really key to everything.
Wow. Can you, all right, and so we're going to wrap this up in 2 seconds. I'm writing these notes down. I'm like, oh, this is awesome. I want you to talk more about those who are on here really quickly because a lot of people do have to go. You have an event coming up tomorrow. And so what does being in the Red Tent Talk event and Parenting with Ease? Your Parenting with Ease is an actual ongoing workshop that you have, and the Red Tent Talks are these, and this is great because you're going to actually be talking about the teenagers and those of us who have teenagers that stay on the phone and doing all these other things. So I want you to talk about those two events and how somebody can stay in contact with you and find you and, you know.
Okay. So the Parenting with Ease is a 6-session series. And this series begins Saturday. So it's Saturday at 7:30, 6 of those. Another series will have it on another day. So I go back and forth. So in the parenting class, we speak about the things we speak about, and the topics around the children come up around the children, the ages of the parents. The ages of the children of the parents is in the class. So
say that again?
The topics around the children come from the ages of the children of the parents in the class. So if there's nobody that has any teens, we won't be talking about teens.
Got it.
Right? And if there's no toddlers, we won't talk about toddlers. But the conversation comes when the parent brings in their scenario, and then we will weigh it against the conversation, the topics that I'm teaching them on. So each class feeds into the next class. So we learn mindfulness, and we learn how to communicate with the child, how to listen. We learn about, and so even in that communication, right, that's very, very important because there's two people in the communication. I call it like a ball game. So we're talking right now, and I have the ball in my hand right now. When I stop talking, I'll throw the ball to you, and you catch the ball, and then you start talking. So if we can't have a conversation if both of us have the ball at the same time and throwing it at the same time. This is ridiculous. If you're looking at a real ball game, it doesn't work. And then sometimes we're playing a game and we throw a ball and it doesn't land here, it lands over there. So I just communicated to you and you didn't get it. And that's what happens a lot in the communications between people, but very much so between parent and child. If somebody's not listening, somebody's not understanding, somebody's not explaining. Somebody's in their head, somebody's judging. There's a whole bunch of stuff. So that's that. and we look at the what like we had last course we had a topic on disrespect. So there was this thing, there's this major, because we have these judgments, these ideas about what disrespect is, whereas the child doesn't have any idea what disrespect is. They're just being who they are. So
especially at 2. At 2, they have no idea.
Right, exactly. So when we judge them, call them, label them, say they're being disrespectful, and then discipline based on that, you're creating trauma in them. So the class is really understanding how not to create trauma in your children, how not to pass on trauma that you received on your children. Just because you were parented in one way doesn't mean that's the way that you get to continue the parenting. Because if it didn't work for you, what makes you think it's going to work for the child?
Mm-hmm. I think that is so pertinent. It is so pertinent what you just said. And that is, we're going to teach you how to really be in relationship with your child so that you can break, right, the things that didn't work for you. And there is something that happens, because I remember being little, like maybe even a little younger than my daughter. And I was like, when I have children, I'm not going to be mean to them. I'm not going to be talking to my child. And I was like, but you are doing, like, similar things. So that breaking the pattern is so crucial, because a lot of times you don't want to be these parents. And it's the way we see our parents too. I noticed that the way I see and view my parents definitely affects the way that I parent my daughter, because I'm so busy judging, right? Back to that judge culture, that it's like, oh, you pointing that finger, but guess what? You're doing it too, but just in a different way. You might not be taking a suede belt with the belt buckle and hitting them with the extension cords and yelling and screaming, every 5 seconds. But you have moments where you spaz out, and verbally you can be really harmful to your children and to yourself. So I love that you offer these things in your classes and that they're customized to the actual mamas and parents that are in the room. Let me ask you, what's the presence of the men and the fathers that are in these workshops?
I had not much. I would like to have more, because their perspective is really powerful. I've had 2 men out of 15 parents.
Got it. But is the parenting with ease only for moms, or is it for both male? It is. So it is for.
Mm-hmm. Yes, it's for both.
Okay. So we're gonna wrap it up, and if they're go ahead. Yes.
I didn't give you the how to sign up.
Yes,
So,
please. Yes, please.
So if you want information for the parenting class, then you would go to bit.ly / these 3 letters are uppercase, 4 letters uppercase, PWEI, and then the I is the first letter of the word interest. So
say that again.
It's P.
Capital B as in boy.
Capital P as in parent.
Oh, capital P as in parent.
Capital W as in with.
W.
Capital E as in ease. Capital I as in interest. And then the word interest. So PWENINTEREST, but the I is uppercase.
The I is uppercase. But what was it before that? Bit.ly. So it was the capital B as in boy.
And that's lowercase. These are bit.ly is lowercase.
bit.ly / right?
Yep.
Okay. So I'm gonna pin that as well. I put it in there. Can a dad attend with the mom? Yes. Smart. That's what my daughter was saying. She couldn't say smart ass diosa. Yeah. Yes, they can. The dad can attend these workshops. And what about the red tent? Usually that is something that tends to be for women and mothers only. Is that only for moms? The red tent, or fathers attend?
It is only for moms. So I'm writing in here the registration. So if you are interested in registering right now, then that's where you would go. P is uppercase PWE, lowercase series. And the course is $250.
That's amazing. How many weeks?
It's 6 weeks.
It's very, very affordable, you all, because I'm going to be honest. Kinyofu's workshops are highly therapeutic. And even my one-on-one session with you, I had so many things going on, Kinyofu. You know, I'm like, whoa, so many courses. But my sessions with her and my one-on-one time with her, extremely therapeutic. I've been saying to myself, like, oh, I need a therapist. Me and my daughter need to be in therapy. And it's just, it has not been working. But I think we're going to sign up for this round. I'm going to sign up for this round. And I would love to see you do something where the mamas and the parents can even have sessions with the children, or like maybe you could just do something, you know, within that 6 weeks with just the children, you know what I mean? And then a session where it's the parents and the children together. Because a lot of times our children are not going to talk. They're not going to talk to us. They feel sometimes a lot more easier speaking to a stranger or somebody who is neutral, you know, than a parent. I'm going to, but yeah, so I'm going to also put Kinyofu's information. Welcome, Royal K. Thanks for being here. I'm going to put Kinyofu's information in this live. It's going to be saved. So you always can go to her page. When you go to her page, her website, your website is in your, because I saw it. It's in your story. Not your story. You know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, it's in my literature, yes.
There it is. It's in her bio. So her website is in her bio. If you go on the website, you absolutely can. And also the link to register for the Parenting with Ease. I highly recommend it. I will not just speak on something. Many of you know me, and some of you, I mean, many of you may not know me, and some of you do know me. And I don't speak about anything that I don't have experience with, or that I don't really truly believe in. And she is highly gifted. The fact that you talk about the ABCs, excuse me, the ACEs, ACE, and that little S. I want you to kind of give maybe a little bit more of a recap for new people joining in so that they know what that is. And I'm going to kind of close it out with some phrases that I want you to complete. And I really thank you for doing this. And her class is tomorrow. Be sure to register for that Parent with Ease. I'm telling you, that $250 is going to be, because I'm like, therapists are expensive, you all. It's like $120 a session. So in 6 weeks, you'll leave gaining more tools on how to parent and how to show up in your parenting for yourself, mostly. Because a lot of times we look outside for the like it being the issue. It's harder to deal with yourself. It's harder to slow down and say, dang, wow, you opened up that little injury, you know, that was there, that was holding in my cells. Hi, Mom. Which one is your mom?
Marie Lavelle.
Hi. Yes. Oh, I just love it. I love your relationship with your mom too. It's pretty dope. But yeah, please, you all make sure you sign up for these courses, because they're really, really very helpful. I mean, $250.
Thank you, Omena. The children, your children will talk to you by the end of the course. From what you learn and how you have changed.
Yes, tell us what we get. Tell us what we get in the course too.
Okay, so you do get to have this relationship with them. So you get to practice. So the things that you learn in class, you take to your child and you talk to them in a different way, and they'll experience you in a different way, and you will experience yourself. So if you trigger, you will notice the trigger. You'll catch it. You'll catch the things that you automatically say, and then ask yourself, why did I say that? Where did that come from? That doesn't make sense, or I don't want to say that. I don't want it to land in the way. Or you might have a memory. It's like, what? That was told to me, and I didn't like it. So you then, tweak things along the way. The tools that you learn, you get to use them right away, and you will see results. And then it's your work in progress. So you take the tools into your life, even beyond the class, and keep practicing.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm gonna post I'm also gonna post her flyer on my Talk Therapy page here after saving this, so that many of you also can go to my page. Be sure to follow us at talk_therapy MV as well. And I will post the flyer for tomorrow's session. It is tomorrow the 16th, and it's at 7:30 p.m.
7:30, yes.
Mm-hmm. And that's Eastern Standard Time.
That's right.
Please stay live so I can share with specific parents that I have in mind. Sis, please share this with every parent, because there's so many parents, especially during this quarantine, that now people were forced to stay home. How does this really work? What would you offer parents like that who had to stay home, and maybe the household environment? You talked about creating the environment. I love that when you said design the I wrote it down. You said design your parenting, what your household needs to look like, what you want for your children and their goals, or the goals. There's so many parents, Royal, right now who are suffering in quarantine. And I want Kinyofu to talk about that. Like, what would you give them? Because, you know, you went from working 8, 9, 10 hours a day, and now you up underneath each other. And your children being gone in school 8 hours a day, and now you're up underneath each other. So you got the children here, and you got the husband here, you know, or the wife, you know, whomever, and your partner. And it's just like, what do I do?
Yeah. It's a hard one. So if you're working and you're doing the parenting and the teaching and the household, it definitely is a lot. And you can't do everything. You definitely can't be a perfect employee. You can't be a perfect wife. You can't be a perfect mother. Particularly in these times, giving yourself a chance to step back, carving some time out for yourself. That means hiding in the bathroom. That's what it means. If it means walking around the block for 5 minutes because it's all that you have, do that. You have to find the time for yourself. And then in that walk or in that bathroom excursion that you have, you know, there'll be some peace of mind that you will create for yourself. And in that peace of mind, you'll get insight as to how this household, how you can adjust with this household in this new environment, this new age. I don't have the answers, but I do know that, you know, it starts with you.
The self-care piece is so essential. I do a post every Sunday called Self-Care Sundays with Omena, and I recommended that, actually, the walking in the bathroom break. You know, like just going in the bathroom and giving yourself a facial. Be sure to, this is a plug I'm about to do for my business, but be sure to hit my link and go and visit our shop, because we do make really good. My skin looks the way it looks because I use a lot of my products that I sell, which is our Monica mask and our bliss butter. But I went into the bathroom one day and I literally gave myself my own facial. I put my honey mask on. I actually hopped in the shower. I was like, I need a shower. Not even a bath. I've taken baths too. But I was like, I'm gonna hop in the shower. And what I did was I put essential oils. I dropped it in the tub because I knew that I needed to come down. So I mixed specific ones like the cinnamon, the rose, the ylang ylangs, like all of those things that were going to, you know, kind of, you know, decompress me, but also be, you know, smell really nice, because the smell changes your whole biochemical structure. You know, scent actually increases your endorphins because you're like, and serotonin. Even some essential oils, a bath will increase serotonin as well. So I did that. That's what you're saying with the self-care piece is so important. It is. And I think finding ways to re-examine what you said. What is the household values? What are our household values? Like, how do we shift what we are doing in the household, because it's different. So we can't do what we were doing before. So maybe as a family collectively, let's come together and figure out some ways that we can be, because we're all in this space. And if you're in New York, you know, half the times you don't got that much space anyway. I don't care if you were one of these newer developments. I'm like, damn, you paying how much money? And
Right.
My living room is like twice your size, boo. But no, I mean, you know, really and truly, at the end of the day, it's just like making sure that you come back as a family and you re-examine and rewrite what the values are moving forward, you know, in this time. And I think those are things that's definitely going to be helpful. And if you're a single mom like me, what I'm going to start doing is having, is based off of what you just said here. You just gave me something new to do, which is to have on Sundays, while I do my self-care Sundays, do something with the family where we sit down and we actually have a check-in like this. So what do we want to see for ourselves? Like maybe creating some type of a little small digital vision board or something that may incorporate our values and what we want to bring forth in the household, and just like, you know, our communication with each other. The baby is too young to do that. He's 2, he can't, but you know, just at least having him sit there and me and Aza, you know, really kind of reeling that one out. So I want you to, thanks Mama Naima. I know, you know, I want you to finish out these phrases for me. Where did I put it? Okay. Trust is.
Trust is your trust is your center. Trust is the.
Hold on, they're burning something.
Oh no!
It's burning. Aza, you do that all the time. Do that all the time. I need it. Get the thing. Hurry up and get a towel. Yeah, my daughter almost burnt the house down.
Yeah. Glad this is not. But trust is your gift. Trust is the center of your gift.
I love that. Parenting is, no, I'm sorry. Parenting holistically looks like.
Parenting holistically looks like having you be present. Parenting holistically is you being present.
And what does that mean?
Present in the now, like present conscious.
Mm-hmm. But what does that look like?
Oh, it looks like you being in tune with yourself and being in tune with your family. You being in tune with the needs.
Hold on. Open the windows, Aza. You got to open the bathroom window. She really burnt whatever it was that she was cooking. And this is, so I'm actually practicing what you're saying right now, because this is the thing I told you. I don't like repeating myself. And I constantly tell her, stop turning the burner all the way up high and then walking away. Right. She does this quite often. And so now you just caused a major, she almost started a fire in the kitchen just now. And I'm here doing my interview with you, and my mom is in the back like, oh man, I'm like, no, I'm sorry, this is what I'm doing. And she's capable and she's able. Open up the window. There's something that's still burning on the stove. Yeah, so.
So then there's consequences.
The consequences is that this is it, right? You're now having to. It's what? Oh, the bag. The bag is on. The bag is covering the fire alarm. That's what's happened. Trust is letting them cook and not burn the house down, honey. Robert, let me tell you. Okay, let me tell you, because she knows, she's been in the kitchen with me, and I actually cook. So no, the guy did. Aza, get the stool, take the thing off, and then wave it. Real mommy moments. This is how it happened.
She's learning.
Smoky. Actually, let me open up my window. Okay. Oh, let me open up my window. Okay, now.
She's actually learning. She is learning, and she's got some panic going on, so that's helping her to put the two and two together. So this is a consequence that hopefully this is the thing for her.
Yeah. Lil E, Mom, she didn't do that. The people did that when they came and switched it out. The people who fixed it, they covered it when they switched it out. Lil E, yes, it's the alarm. And that's what we can do. Usually we'll fan it. And that's what she's doing. She's taking the towel and she's trying to fan it. But it's not. Give me 1 second. I'll be right back.
Okay, so I do have access to the chat. What am I seeing? We paused this. We have a station identification break. I did not speak on the red tent to the people who joined in later. The red tent is a sacred circle, and women that are in the circle traditionally. And what I've done in the past is I would have like mini tents, and I would invite men in for them to see what the tent is, for them to get a sense and to understand the nature of it and why it's important for women to get together in these spaces. So women in the spaces without the men would nurture each other. We would nurture each other. We would talk about those sacred conversations and learn from each other. We were just talking about the tent because I didn't. For those who joined in later.
Thank you, Mercy and Grace. She's like, I think you're handling well and still doing the show. Yeah, we're about to close out, so we're almost done. So thank you. Parenting holistically, you said, is being present. And then I said, what does that look like?
Okay. So did I answer that? It looks like you paying attention.
Like being present looks like.
It looks like paying attention. Looks like listening, really listening. And looks like responding to the situation at hand.
Yeah. Okay, so family values are important because?
Oh, because without values, then anything can go. You want to have this goal. Go for it. You want everybody to be on the same page.
Okay. Lying promotes.
Lying promotes misinformation and trust.
Setting clear boundaries helps everyone win.
Help everyone win?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
When you're not around to say one way or the other. When you're not around.
Yeah. Thank you. That was really good. And if there anything else extra that you want to add in on that, I love this. Oh, I wanted to ask you this. What are the cons? What are the pros and cons to being a mompreneur? Even though, again, your children are older, they may not need you in a particular way in terms of like being in your space, but how has that been, being able to manage a business as a mompreneur?
Well, I've always had a business for all of my children's lives. They birthed one business, and that was my birth business. So the pro was that I had them to experiment with and to use as like information, education. The pro was that they were my inspiration, and the con is not being able to really fully get my work done.
Yep.
I remember being interrupted, like you got the alarm. I had, other type of things. And the con is really not being able to put your full self in.
Yeah.
In that moment.
Yeah. That happens to me too. Like as a mompreneur, that not having my time interrupted or when something like this important is going on. But also knowing not to take it personal, because I do take it personal sometimes. Like, really, you all, really? But yeah, that's a tough one too, especially with a 2-year-old. Is trying to maintain my schedule and then take care of him too, and my daughter, and make sure everybody's all good. It's been really, really tough. But I loved this. I am so happy. Please, y'all, her Parenting with Ease workshop, men and women are welcome. I think caretakers are welcome too, right? If you're
Yeah.
a caretaker, you can come and take that class as well because, you know, you might not be a biological mom, but you're still a mother. That's how I see it. If you are even caring for a parent and it's the reverse, you can take this class because you're now responsible for this elder that's in your possession. Thank you, Naima. And so I want to encourage people to please join in tomorrow evening at 7:30. Is this a free workshop or is this a workshop that they have to pay for?
No, this is a $250 workshop. It's
Okay, so
six series.
This is the 6-week series starting tomorrow, you all. So please join on. You will not, that will be the best $250 you spend. And do you have a payment plan for those who need it, or how does that work?
I can create one.
Okay, she's willing to create one. That's not a bad price, you all. It's doable. We spend $250 in like literally a day or two. You know what I'm saying? A week. Some people can do that. But I'm not trying to be in folks' pockets like that. I'm just saying that her Parenting with Ease workshop, her red tent talks, like, are so worth it. Like, and I feel necessary. What she just gave you all a glimpse of what actually happens. And she's so modest and so, you're so modest in that way, you know. But I love that you say you are coaching or teaching people how to be resilient, right? Or you're coaching with resilience. And it is true. You are teaching us how to be resilient as parent, because sometimes you do want to give up. Sometimes it's like, you might have those moments where you just like, I'm throwing in the towel. And I think what you said, that self-care piece is so important. Go in the bathroom when it's like that. You know, go out for a walk, clear your head. So thank you for the tips. You left so many jewels here. People, please rewatch this. And you can find her at www.fighttrauma.com. Please follow her at Kinyofu. And please, please, please sign up for that course. And call her. If you can't do it, DM her, call her, let her, you know, like work something out. But be in this parenting course. Be in it. It's very, very key. Yeah. And Louise gave you a testimony too. She said, I want to go back up because I saw her. And I know Louise used to talk very often about her oldest son and her 12-year-old. I think she has a 12-year-old, 13-year-old son like me. Our children might be like the same, somewhere in the same age range. But she said that your course really helped her, and I wanted to go back up to that. She said, Parenting with Ease is a great workshop. I took it, and it helped me get closer to my children. So, and Louise has both an older child and a teenager. So there are two different, they're also, you know, two different generations. So, yeah. This works generationally, you know. It works generationally. It's for all ages. And you all can definitely be a part of what Kinyofu is doing. I am, again, Omena-El, aka the Holistic Alchemist, and you have been tuned into Hey Mom. It's a weekly session that we have where we focus in on moms. We do talk therapy here, mom event talk therapy. We also have a safe space that husbands and uncles and fathers and brothers can join in as well, because every mother needs to be mothered, because we are the lifeline to humanity. And without moms and without healthy, functional households, we're going to have more of the chaos that you're seeing in the world today. So take care of the mom. The mom will in turn take care of the husband, the babies, or the wife, the babies. Like, take care of mama. All right. Thank you, love. Thank you, everyone. Thank you. If there was any... Go ahead.
I don't know how to stop this.
Oh, I'm going to stop it. I got it. I'm going to stop it. I'm going to close it out right now. It's totally fine. I have to go to the... but let me go to the thing. I'm sorry. You know what? This happened last week too, where I couldn't get the person off. But it's okay. I'm trying to end it now. But yes, we love you all. If anybody has any questions, You can, follow Kinyofu, and you can actually get in contact with her personally. Also, again, subscribe to our YouTube channel, Mommy Vent Talk Therapy. Everything is in my link. Hit that link and go through all of the links. I am detoxing, so I'm definitely about to get off and do my. I didn't take my supplements this morning because I was already in the bathroom feeling really crazy. So I can take them now, and I haven't been eating actually. I've been like fasting for like 5 days. So I think today I'm gonna eat something, put something in my system. So,
Yeah.
all right. Thank you
All
so
right.
much.
Thank you.
Okay,
Okay.
bye-bye.